much about music, but whenever I played rock and roll stuff when I was DJing, he tended to be.
Yeah, he liked rock and roll.
Yeah, he was big on the rock and roll.
Me and my dad liked that song.
We do.
Like that song?
He guessed it in maybe 4 or 5 chords. He's like, oh, we know that.
Yeah. Get Frisco.
You're teaching him well.
That's great.
Yeah, that song is actually based on Sid Barrett.
Yeah.
What?
Sid Barrett, he's the original singer for Floyd.
Ah.
He's paranoid. He's schizophrenic, and that's why they had to leave the band.
Ah.
24 years ago, I had my eyes open 25, 26 years ago when the artist community started paying attention that we better do something about poverty, and Richard was getting started. I started doing volunteer haircutting, and last week when I found out Chris was gone, I went to work and was cutting hair and had this lovely memory just hit me. Fortunately, my customer wasn't like deep in a conversation. They were just sitting there, and I got to think, oh my gosh, Chris was one of my first clients that I did his hair at the shelter. It was at Hobo's on 5th and Lavaca, way in the back where the plumbing was, back by the bathrooms, just this little room. And I'm like, oh, that was Chris. And for years I would acknowledge that. I probably cut his hair a few times, but that was a lovely memory to just grab me back to reality. Oh, it's lovely. And I've seen Chris all through the years, here and there, and I would say he was transparent. He was not ever afraid to tell you what he thought. And I'm looking forward to hearing some of the memories and stories that we might have. Hopefully we feel safe, and if people want to share their memories about who Chris was, that we can get to know him even more in depth as he evolved in life. Would you like to say something, Amber?
Excuse me.
I tried to write something, but now I don't know that I like what I wrote. So,
I think that
well, Chris and I became really, really, really good friends over the last couple of years. And I'd say that the only reason that was possible was because of Occupy having happened. You know, he was such a funny guy and so tongue-in-cheek. You know, he was so misunderstood, and I think that, you know, when I realized that, you know, and really started to pay attention to what he was trying to tell me, I found that we were so much alike. I think that he was able to represent in a more outward way some of the anger and rage that I felt during periods of time.
it kind of took me aback because I thought he was a violent character, and I made a judgment. I did the thing that I hate when it happens to me. I did it to him, and it wasn't long before, like, hearing him talk before GA, during GA, after GA, hearing his stories, that I got it. It's like, yeah, there's some violence there, but there's a code. And that code is non-negotiable. He was the truest example of be yourself all the fucking time, no matter what, that I have ever come into encounter with. And he told me one time, I missed a couple of GAs and I saw him and I was like, yeah, man, I missed you guys. And he's like, well, what have you been doing? I was like, well, I was writing. And he's like, well, shit, you shouldn't come to GA if you're writing. And I was like, yeah, but you know, this is important to me. And he's like, well, I thought writing was important to you. I was like, yeah, it is. And he's like, you know, I know people like you. I think that sometimes you put other people's needs before your own. And sometimes you're afraid of pissing people off, so you don't do what you really want to do. I mean, at first I was like, man, yeah, okay, yeah, that's exactly. He says, if you want to find out who loves you, take some time and just be completely self-focused. Focus on doing what you want to do.
That got to happen for him.
Well, and I hate that that's going to define our relationship, because it was so much more than that. But I think there's a lot of meaning for me in it, and it's just how much of that I really want to share. That's what I'm struggling with. But because I don't want to make it more about me than about him. So, but I'm so grateful for what he taught me. You know, it's really hard for me to express the love I feel for him. Without feeling the anger. And I think that sums up Chris's experience in life. But he was so gentle, and he was so sweet, and he would have died for anyone here.
He was Kid Galahad.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those people that would give you shit off his back.
When he didn't have another.
Yep.
And he would tell you anything that was on his mind, but only if you actually mattered to him. So I think that, you know, the experience of a lot of people of being able to get to know him over time has been really precious. You know, I feel like, you know, he's changed my life. You know, I think that, you know, Peaches is right. You know, I may have been very instrumental in him maintaining a relationship with a social worker and getting housing and getting cancer treatment and all of that, but the real growth, I think, was mine. You know, things in his life still didn't change much except for when I was around. And that wasn't because of him, that was because people couldn't actually ignore me. I wasn't about to let them. And I wasn't going to let them ignore him anymore either. And I think that's a lot of the meaning for me, because that's one of the things that brought me to Occupy to begin with. And I think some of y'all have heard me tell the story of what like really drew me to Occupy. You know, back in October of 2011, when everyone kind of swarmed the steps and folks were occupying the steps 24/7, when I thought of what was happening down there, and I thought of the voice that was speaking for me, it was the people on the steps that were my voice. They were the ones that were there the entire time, 24/7, day, night. They were living in the weather, in the elements, and they were the ones making it impossible to ignore anymore. Impossible to ignore. And I just felt this need to be involved. And because I felt like they spoke for me when I was at work, when I was with my family, when I was watching TV Saturday morning, they were speaking for me. And so when I got involved, you know, and then the eviction happened, I felt this huge loss, like I wasn't really able to give back what I felt like I had gotten from that experience. Until now, I feel like I was able to give a voice to Chris over the last 2 years, just about every Monday at GA, you know, when he decided to take it for himself. And I just really appreciate having had the opportunity and everything that he's taught me about love and understanding, and being able to see beyond all of the trappings